I'm going to need your ladder later today. So I haven't fired off the text yet. Yesterday, I was Clark W. Griswold in my garage. Last night, we had Sunday Night Football. We got TV in the garage, right? Because America. And I was doing all the light tests.
America.
Right? I had to make sure all of our lights were good.
See, we just passed the homeowner initiation, as in the sense of like we've had a house for a while, but I couldn't hang lights because I couldn't move up a ladder because my hips didn't work.
Hold on, you're gonna tell us right now that you are going to move up a ladder?
I already did.
You already did?
Took a painkiller Saturday. Yeah.
I feel like I need a legal disclaimer for everything you just said.
Yeah. Took a painkiller Saturday, hopped up on the short ladder.
Not advised.
Not advised. Also, I have one of those extendable poles that has a thing that you screw onto the end of it that you can hook clips onto your gutters with.
What?
Oh, yeah. I'll send you the link. So you don't... It's called a ladderless clip placer.
Are you serious, Clark?
Yeah, it's a real thing. You said ladder, and I was like, but...
yeah, but where's the fun in, like, almost, like,
almost dying?
Dying.
Yeah. But I had to get up there to, like... I realized that I was like, oh, you know what? I didn't clean the gutters this year, so I had to kind of make sure... clean a little bit of the gutters while I was up there. So I had to use the ladder.
Very important.
Yes. But I had my first light failure. And we don't have, because we've only been in the house for 3 years. We don't, and because I hadn't hung them, we don't have a ton of Christmas lights. So I had to order new ones. So half our house is lit up right now.
What's got two thumbs and is a prime candidate for an investor in a scissor lift?
That guy.
That guy.
Yes.
That guy right over there.
Who doesn't love a good scissoring?
Yeah. But hold on. What did Uncle Spud have? Did he put up Christmas lights with his little claw? I've been thinking about Uncle Spud for 5 days now.
Yeah, it was one level home too, just a ranch style home. So yeah, he didn't have to get up too high there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Shout out ranch homes, by the way.
Yeah, ranch homes are great.
I will never live in a 2-story house again.
Yeah.
Well, you for different reasons than the most of us.
Yes, I will. If I
have the.
If I did, I would have. Yes, I would 100% have the chair.
Going all right.
100% have the
up
chair
the stairs.
Left. There's no doubt about that. I will not be doing stairs in my house ever again.
Except Danny would soup that thing up, and it's not going to be that pokey. It's going to get him up those stairs in about a second and a half.
Yeah, no, we're not going to have that 3 minutes.
It's going to be like tossing him out at the top.
Yeah, soup this bad boy up. Yeah. This ain't street legal.
Yeah. More power.
No, we're going to have a seatbelt on that thing to make sure it's not the Fast and Furious ejecto-cedo.
It just gets right up to the top, and Danny just goes flying off the side of it. Like, we're here.
We got a padded wall up there.
All right. Well, hey, it is Christmas season. Acceptable things. Christmas music. Having your Christmas lights turned on your home.
Yeah, mine are on.
Yeah. Very proud of all the people that just stuck right through the last 11 months, and they were like, "Hey, guess what?
Plug them back in because they're still up.
We're gonna turn these bad boys on come Thanksgiving time, so might as well leave them up."
Yep. Oh, I still had a bunch of those clips on the gutter from last year.
I went to we have a pine tree in the front yard, and I went to put the lights in there, and I realized inside the tree there was another set of lights from the previous family. I was like, oh, because they were like deep in the tree.
Deep in,
like
really?
They like, I don't know, probably like fallen in a little bit more.
I bet it's because it's a pain in the ass to light up your trees.
Oh, it is.
Exterior illumination is a passion of mine.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
I love Christmas lights.
My wife told me, like, I'm
putting them up.
I like them. I don't like putting them up. But my wife told me that it was my thing. The outside of the house was my thing.
It really is.
Which makes sense right now because only half the house is lit.
That's right.
So I had the other box show up yesterday.
You are a human that is usually fully lit, but
well, that's like our house when only I've been drinking. Only half the house is lit.
All right, everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's all around.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean,
Saturday was a great day.
It felt like a month ago that Thanksgiving happened.
Right?
There's been a lot that has happened.
4 days is a lot. No, I sent you guys a text message of our Thanksgiving. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was great, but my Thanksgiving bingo card happened.
Ooh,
That's for sure. We hit pretty much everything.
you got them all.
Oh yeah, and then the ones we talked about off air hit too. So,
You know what? Good for you.
Yeah, no, my wife had to pat me on the knee more than a few times. It's like, it's okay.
Easy.
It's okay. Just don't say anything. Don't say
Easy.
anything. And I was like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna lose it.
Yeah, mine was relatively low key compared to that. I don't know if we hit any of the bingo card without me
Bringing it
trying to, poke the
Instigate.
bear a little bit.
Mm.
And I'll be damned, they know my tricks. This family has figured me out. They didn't take the bait not one time.
I know they were
Not one time.
they were chumming the water for me.
Gosh. Yeah, they were.
And I
You just didn't take
no,
it.
No.
Look at you grown up.
Yeah, well.
Well, I mean, had you been taking a dump, I think that's one thing that we've learned. You would have argued with every single one of those
We just
people.
get on.
That's what you do. It wasn't your time.
From the crapper.
Yeah, where's Danny at? Oh no. Oh no.
Oh boy.
Uh-oh, now my phone's blowing up.
Oh, our dinner's being subtweeted. This is horrible.
I mean,
Now he's naming names.
I may or may not have put a poll out on Twitter asking how long you do or don't spend at Thanksgiving.
Ooh, what was the answer to that?
And I think I put it at less than an hour to 2.5, 2.5 to
Less than an hour?
3.5, and then like 3.5 plus. Half of the people said like 3.5 plus, but the next group was like 2.5. Like they're like, get in, get out.
Wow.
Yeah. So I said those less than an hour, folks. That's like the
Pop in, grab a plate, say, hey, I'm still alive. See you later.
essentially a middle finger. Peace out.
Which is quite the statement to make. I mean,
Right?
go ahead and make the statement that family is important, but you're not.
Yeah.
I think isn't that what you're trying to say?
Right.
During that moment right
Yeah,
there.
you're important enough for me
Yeah.
to show up for a little bit.
Gosh,
Well, the
that's
food might
about
just
it.
be good enough.
that was a long time ago.
Also, I had this to say that day too. If you only make it once a year, it is not an elite dish. Can't be.
I disagree with that.
Can't be.
I disagree with it because it's just traditions, right? It's traditions.
Tradition is not elite.
See, and it's
well,
not
then
about,
how about
about
this?
a particular dish. It's the collection of dishes
Yeah.
together that make
Yeah.
the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts.
Yeah, like my wife makes this like a Jello cranberry sauce, something or other.
With pretzels.
It's
No.
it's really good. It's really good to have, but it's a pain in the ass to make. So it's like, yay, we're gonna make this like once a year because it's really good. We have it this time, but like dressing, we'll make stuffing at other times during the year. It's definitely cold season. It's cold season food. You're not making it in August, for God's sakes. Mashed potatoes and gravy. Yep, you'll have it other times of the year, right? I mean, it's really good. You just don't go out and make the whole big ass turkey and risk burning your home down deep frying it, which is an awesome move, and it is good.
It is delicious.
There's a reason why people risk it all to like burn down their homes or trailer parks or apartment complexes. It's because it's so damn good to a deep fried turkey. You get that thing injected right. You do like some Cajun injections on that thing. You treat that turkey right. Deep frying it is worth it. And that is elite. I think it just means it's extra special.
Cajun injections usually you need to sign a waiver for.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is true.
One of my favorite traditions is the videos of idiots who put frozen turkeys in
Can't do it.
Deep fryers.
Yeah, can't do it frozen.
So funny.
And it has to be a slow,
It's a slow drop. Yep.
It is like you got to be patient with that bad boy. It's got to take at least a minute, maybe even two depending on how full your.
It's like you need one of those
Your pot is.
contraptions like dropping the engine back in a car.
Cherry picker.
Yes, thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
That's
funny
right.
that you say that because I actually had a friend who used a cherry picker for one year.
Yeah. That's how Uncle Spud lost one of his fingers.
He got it caught in the cherry picker.
Yeah, they're lowering the turkey down.
They'll get you.
I'm gonna find out how Spud lost those other fingers outside of we know one's a dryer accident,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
Sounds like an adult
It's been
video
one hell of a
starts.
heavy door.
One part about that Uncle Spud was kind of like he was a very modern man for those times because if he was born in the 1800s and he was working a laundry machine and we was working the dryer, I mean, that usually wasn't the man's job.
I feel like he was pretty progressive.
He was
yeah.
very progressive man, minus the fingers.
Yeah.
He was ahead of his times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't count to 7, but he could do a lot of things.
Well, he could, just not on his fingers.
Oh man, we had a lot. We had a lot that we went through. Let's see. Since we last left you, we all had Thanksgiving. We had the Civil War happen.
Indeed.
We had Jonathan Smith leave for another job.
Yeah.
We had Washington scrape by another game, winning the Apple Cup. We had one of the best Iron Bowl finishes of all time, Alabama and Auburn.
Ryan Day cried again.
Ryan Day did cry again. This time, Lou Holtz had nothing to do with it, as far as I know. And then, let's see. A great weekend of NFL action.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts is, in fact, that dude.
That's right. That's right. That's right. It's been busy. It's been very busy. And I lost the state championship game. On Saturday. It's okay. I'm very proud of the Banks Braves.
Which is why your
my beard is gone. Yeah. Well, it would have been gone no matter what. I was shaving that thing off no matter what.
You look weird without it.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm a facial hair guy. No, I'm not. Who am I kidding? Who am I kidding? I'm not.
You were leaning into it.
I'm not. But I had one of those parenting moments after the game that it's very hard to figure out how to react because, one thing about coaching that I love and why I do it is because I love the game of football, but it's really important to me because my dad was a coach and I was always around practices, games, all that stuff. And I had a bunch of big brothers around me, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why I love doing it now is I can take my son Bennett with me and he can experience all those things. And it makes me so happy to see his connection that he has with our players as well, because he talks smack with them. He has fun with them. They love him. He loves them. And it's really cool. And I love it. After the game, we're all up in our feelings, right? And I go into the locker room, all that stuff. And I get a text from my wife saying, I had to separate your son from the other players. And I was like, what? Apparently, my son took it upon himself to stand up for his Banks Braves brothers, and he was telling the opponents he disliked them. He didn't swear, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, he'll get there.
That gets in trouble with mom.
I'm also very proud that he has that little bit in him to always know he's gonna ride or die, right?
Yep.
Right.
But then I was like, dude, you cannot be doing that, man. We do. Again, no.
The subtle knuckle bumps under the table.
No. But no, it's like, no, you cannot tell them that you don't like them because they lost. They beat the team that you love.
Yeah.
But in his little mind, he was like, no, like these guys, you could hear them kind of chirping, and they're celebrating, right? They weren't chirping at our guys or nothing like that.
Right.
But he knew that their joy was bringing so much pain. He was like, And so there was a part of me that was like, I love that about you, but buddy, we don't do that.
There's some competitive juices there.
We don't. No, I don't want the chirping, but I like the ride or die nature that you have.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, you're just torn at all
This
times.
will serve you well.
He's got a little dog in him. He's got a little dog in him. We got to pull the leash back quite a few times. Might need a choke collar for it, but he's got a little bit of dog in him. All right, hey, let's get this show going. We have got 3 hours, and it's going to be a lot of football. We got to sprinkle some basketball in here too, because also Damian Lillard played against the Portland Trailblazers again yesterday. And on a football Sunday, I shall tell you,
you watch basketball?
Main screen had basketball on it, and it was Blazers and Bucks. I had to watch.
Yeah,
you had to watch that.
Absolutely.
And then it was actually encouraging too.
Sure.
I mean, Scoot played really well in the first half. He played really well.
Signs of improvement.
But we also have got to get to the biggest elephant in the room here. The Civil War. Look, the implications of this Civil War were bigger than ever. We knew that heading in, but so was the fallout. Jonathan Smith heads to Michigan State. A massive blow to Oregon State. Hear what the coach had to say today. He has spoken to the Big Ten media. He went on the Big Ten network. And look, where do the Beavs go from here? And why did Jonathan Smith jump ship to Michigan State? This is Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Like you got through all of that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, there's real legs to this.
Yeah.
And then it became, oh, this is done.
And look, before the game, I can say that even before the game on Friday, just talking to some people around Oregon State and being down there in the stadium, they did not have a good feeling that Jonathan Smith was going to be there beyond this season. I don't know how quickly everybody thought all the parts would move, but there was a lot of, it doesn't feel good. Like right now, it doesn't look good. Like, and nobody knew for certain, but it doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good about his future staying at Oregon State. Then on Saturday, he gets hired, and yesterday we hear this from his informal press conference on when he knew he was leaving, and this fired up Oregon State fans a little bit more.
When you had a big game with Oregon, of course, when did you know this was going to happen?
I felt confident, I'll be honest with you, but I did want to sleep on it one more night type thing. But in my mind, it's been a long time.
What's been your long-range vision of Michigan State from a distance?
Look, I want to grow, dive into it and learn about the place, and I'm anxious to do that. But we want to compete and win at the biggest level.
What's your opening message to Spartan fans?
I'm excited to be here. We're ready to go to work. This is a special place. I'm anxious to learn about it.
Have you decided who you're going to bring from your staff from Oregon State here?
Well, I got some guys on the plane, but nothing final on exacts, and we got time to.
He knew. I mean, he knew when it was going to be, right? Yeah. He knew it was going to be before he had a good feeling about it, but the very first conversations that he had, and that would be like a week ago, a week prior, right? And then you have today, he went on the Big Ten Network and did his first sit down real interview of, all right, why leave Oregon State for Michigan State? Why Michigan State's program?
Well, there was a lot to like. Put some thought into it as the process went on. I just felt the fit was great in regards to what I value in regards to this community, this fan base, a program of substance, being a program we're working to develop young men on and off the field. Listening to Alan and his vision for the place was right in line on how I like to do things. And so there's a lot there, this passionate fan base. I think you can win at a high level. There's some serious work to do here, and I'm excited about diving into it.
That's a lot of coach speak. Anybody that takes over a program, you hear that, but him saying it's a program of substance, then what are you leaving?
Familiar.
Like, what are you leaving then?
Yeah.
Right? Oh, vaguely familiar? You mean Dan Lanning saying we're rooted in substance, yelling that over and over again before the Colorado game? Okay, so you have that, and there's these little things that it's just it's like a knife going into the side of Oregon State fans, right? Because everything that he's saying, he got a lot of work to do. Yeah, he said that when he got to Oregon State, and he did a lot of work, and he did a lot of great work, and got them to a point where, hey, you are competitive. They were ranked 10th in the country a couple of weeks ago, and now I want a program of substance, right?
And I think the thing here that was not being said is the loudest part of this. And you and I have gone through this. And we, over the last year, thought that they're probably done, but maybe there's a Hail Mary chance. And Jonathan Smith was going to be that Hail Mary chance. You find a way through the legal system, through the conferences, to pool some money and keep you afloat. Keep doing what you're doing. Make sure Aiden Childs doesn't transfer. Damian Martinez doesn't transfer. Keep bringing some guys in that you can grow. Survive for the next 2 years. And then maybe the Big 12 opens up. Maybe a super conference opens up. Just survive long enough on your own as a quasi-independent to get that opportunity. Jonathan Smith is there. He's in the trenches at Oregon State. He knows what the reality is. And I'd imagine over the last week he had discussions with the AD. What does my budget look like? How much money am I going to get to have to keep players? How much money am I going to have to go get players? How much money am I going to have for my staffers? What are we going to be able to support?
Yeah.
And I would almost guarantee that the answers he got there were not good.
And that's what I always thought, that Jonathan Smith would see them through this roughest part, because it is a program that means a ton to him.
Yes.
It does. And I understand where Oregon State fan is coming from here, because this is a death blow to your program. I mean, there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. There's no other way to say it. This is a death blow. because it tells you about the financial footing, the long-term stability and viability. And this is coming from a guy who knew what he was getting himself into when he took the Oregon State job, right? And has done an incredible job.
Yeah.
But he knows what they have is not sustainable, even for this 2-year period.
Yeah. It's
where
just not enough.
It was, hey, we're going to have an influx of money coming, and we're going to split it with Washington State. But you're right. It's not enough, and there's so much uncertainty moving forward that you sit there and you go, if the guy who came when this program was in the drags, man, like this program was as low as you could possibly
It was one of the worst
get.
programs in the country.
The cupboard was bare. There was more apathy than ever with Oregon State football. Like it felt like, the Pettibone days where it was really bad at Oregon State. And then he slowly chipped away and he built something into a bona fide, damn good football team. Like they're not
a very good, not even like Pac-12 team, a very good team.
But what this ultimately comes down to is that he did exactly what every other school in the conference that found their own footing was self-preservation, right? It was looking out for himself and his future too.
Yeah.
And that's what all the schools did in conference realignment. And this is what Jonathan Smith's hand was forced to. And I thought it was going to be a couple more years because everybody would look around and say, that's a damn good coach still. And he's going to see this thing through, and there were going to be opportunities over the next 2 years. But I think it says a lot about the internal conversations about the future of Oregon State that he felt so uncomfortable with it that he jumped for Michigan State. Like Michigan State is not a bad job.
No, but it is a lateral job.
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's an improvement. I think it is an improvement when you look at historically, just the history of the program. If you look at over the last decade, they've gone to multiple New Year's Six bowls and won New Year's Six bowls.
But where they sit in the conference, I think it's about the same.
But they do have. I mean, they have.
But they have a conference.
They have a conference. They have more 10-win seasons in the last 10 years than Oregon State has ever.
Sure.
Right? Like that's where Michigan State is not a great program as when you look at the Big Ten and the hierarchy of it. If you look back at when they were at their best in the last 10 years,
they're a good program.
It was when Michigan and Ohio State were both down.
Sure.
Right?
They're still a good program.
They are they're solid.
They pump out NFL dudes at probably about the same rate as Oregon State.
But Michigan and Ohio State are back. And they're both really damn good.
One's better than the other.
And now you're adding Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. Like
he'll be familiar with those guys.
What it really is, and this is all like this is it. It's like Michigan State is like a UCLA, right? Where it's like they can be really good at times, but they're always seemingly like there, but never.
They're always little brother.
There.
Yeah. They're always little brother.
They won, and I should take that back. They've won conference championship games, but look, UCLA was in the first 2 conference championship games in the Pac-12 too, right? And that everybody will say, well, that's because USC was down. Well, it's because Michigan and Ohio State were kind of down too.
Same kind of place, yeah.
Right? Kind of seems like they're in that same spot. But the fact of the matter is, it is an upgrade. It is an upgrade. It's not. I don't think it's a lateral move, but you are going into this with an uphill climb against the competition in your conference. And you mentioned the familiarity that he has with the new 4 schools. And there was something that he said in an interview with the Big Ten Network about the timing of his departure from Oregon State and that familiarity with the 4 incoming Pac-12 schools. And I want to get to that first. We got the Big Kahuna who woke up sexy as hell again today on The Fan. 10 Network today and did an interview. A couple of answers that really stuck out to me. We heard you. We played for you. The why Michigan State, but he was also asked why did he leave Oregon State and the timing of leaving Oregon State.
Yeah, that place means a ton, no question. These things aren't always easy. I go back to the timing and the fit. I wasn't going to just abandon a place. I wanted to be going to a place, and so I go back to the conversations, learning more and more about Michigan State. This felt like the right timing, the right fit for me.
That right there. Like I do believe that this was really hard for Jonathan Smith, and I will say that. And I think there was a lack of transparency with his players when you hear what his players are saying in all this. Like, I don't know if you've seen Anthony Gould's or Damian Martinez's Twitters lately.
They're not happy individuals.
No. Damian Martinez had a tweet, yesterday that was, he can't do fake. He loves the real Beaver Nation. And then, somebody retweeted Jonathan Smith's comments of when he knew he was going to go. And it was when the conversation started with Michigan State, which could have been a month ago, right? And Damian Martinez just retweeted a guy that said, "Is this the crap Damian Martinez knew about but can't say? No loyalty. If I was players hearing this, I'd be livid. No way the guy's given 100% to his team this year. Wow." And his players are retweeting all this. One person called him a snake. He called Jonathan Smith a snake. Damian Martinez retweeted that. Right? They're going to be hurt. And when you hear Jonathan Smith say, "I didn't want to abandon Oregon State," that is you. Anytime a coach leaves, that's exactly what you're doing. There's no way around it. That's the hard part about this business. You are abandoning them, but then he's saying he wanted to go somewhere where there's stability, right? And it's like,
to take care of yourself in this situation, you have to screw somebody over.
And that was every single. And I get it. And this is like this is the one that probably stings just as bad as everybody else in the conference leaving you, is that this is one of your own who's leaving you. But it's the same feeling because it is that self-preservation, having to look out when everything else is crumbling around you. What do?
It's the Will Smith, "Why don't he want me," man? Like
Yep.
It's
Pursuit of Happiness. That movie is sad as hell.
No, that was Fresh Prince. His real dad
hugging Uncle Phil.
Uncle Phil. Yeah,
I remember that. I cried on that one too.
You know that was an ad lib.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
which
really good.
is why it crushed. Yeah.
Yeah. Pursuit of Happiness is really sad.
That's
too.
another one.
He's in the
curls up in the bathroom with
Bart
a kid.
Bathroom.
Oh
yeah.
God, that's brutal.
Yeah, that sucks. Very, very sad.
I genuinely feel bad for Oregon State. Like I really do. Like I understand. Obviously I'm not on a Beaver, so it's different from me. But it sucks. And the thing about this is what we were talking about here in Jonathan Smith. Can a coach leave a program and tell his players? And I will say honestly, I don't believe you can. I don't think you can operate in earnest because you're having those discussions, and the way that this business is set up right now is that you have those discussions while you're playing or while you're in season.
Yeah.
If it's before a transfer or before a bowl, and because of that, you can't have earnest conversations with your players.
No.
Because of what that could mean. And talking to Beavers fans over the last couple of days, I get what you're saying in the sense of, I just wish he would have been more honest. And if I thought anyone ever was going to break that trend and how you operate, I thought maybe it would be him. And I don't think it's necessarily a fault because of it. If you, and I know it's hard for Beaver fans to take the emotion out of this. If you look at the reality of the situation, if you or anyone else is in that spot, you're doing the exact same thing as Jonathan Smith. Not only are you getting a raise, you're going to a place where the foundation is not falling apart underneath you. Yep. And I know that sucks to hear, Beaver fans, but right now there's nothing there to work with.
Yeah.
And he knows the reality of that. And as much as he would love to tell those kids, like, look, guys, I can't stay. I'm looking around. I can't tell you everything because that's not my place to tell you everything. But it's not sustainable, and I got to go.
Yeah, and look, if the windfall of cash could have come to him and his staff, would that have changed things? Would have made it a heck of a lot harder. But when you get that no,
And that's
Right.
the thing is the answer was very clearly no.
you get the no, then look, you can't keep up with the Joneses anymore. And that's where it falls apart as well. And this is like all of this comes back to he was also like he may have not been crystal clear with his players because no coach is in any of these instances, and there's always going to be, hard feelings towards a coach that leaves, and especially one that is one of your own. But he told everybody. He told everybody. He told everybody when he said that's what my agent gets paid to do, is look out for these opportunities.
And he was very clear. Everyone's agent, if your agent is doing their job, and he's not wrong, because not only are you doing this for those opportunities, but you're doing these so that you can take them to your ADs to get your guys raises.
And if Scott Barnes knew a month ago
he knew
that Michigan State was reaching out, then this wasn't a surprise to him either.
No.
So
which is
you
why
look
we
at
got the
that
statement that we got.
Well, and then you get this statement too. Like they asked him about the familiarity of having the 4 schools from the Pac-12 that are going to the Big Ten, if that's going to be an advantage. There's something that he slips in here. I want to see if you guys catch it too. Or when he talks about the Big Ten now in these 4 schools in it.
Yeah, there's no question that I got familiarity and background with those 4 teams, the West Coast. I will say it this way: I'm excited to get over here in the state of Michigan, learn and grow. I go back to the fit, and even now being here 24 hours, the people fit a lot of what I want to be about: low ego, high output, blue collar, working at it. And I feel confident in that. Those 4 teams joining the league, what I felt, again, was so intriguing for me on this opportunity was this conference is the best in the country. You talk about those 4 additions across the board, and I wanted to be able to have a chance to compete at the highest level.
Right there at the end, man.
Mm-hmm.
It all came down to he wanted to be competing at the highest level, which is what everybody wanted to do, and that's why they all are going to the Big Ten, the Big 12.
And he knows that Oregon State it's a Mountain West team now.
It is. It is. And that makes this, I mean, it may make it easier to now just have that final realization.
The scheduling thing, it's no longer a problem.
No.
It's you're going to
You're holding on for the next 2 years for money.
Yeah.
And then after that, that's where the fate lies.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to compete at the highest levels. The Big Ten there's 2
conferences now.
Big Ten and the SEC. They are the 2 highest levels, and that is it.
He didn't want to claw and
That
scratch and
stings.
try to hang on and maybe get to the Big 12. Because even if you get there, you're still not at the highest levels.
Yep.
If the Pac-12 stays together, the way that they are trending, and this is what makes the death of this conference so unfortunate, I don't think this is a thing where this is going to be a one-off year. As much as the quarterback play, Caleb, Penix, Bo, are going to go off to the NFL, I think all of those programs are heading in positive directions. Oregon, Oregon State, USC, UCLA, Washington, hell, even Washington State.
Yeah.
Arizona, I think Colorado. What program in the Pac-12 is declining? Who is not in an upswing?
I mean, Stanford and Arizona State are in a really tough place,
but they're on upswings.
You have an idea of the direction that they're going to pull it out because
coaching.
Their coaching is actually really good.
Yes,
and they are really good, and they actually were not as bad as what people thought.
No, and that's the thing is, you look around this conference right now, and this is what makes this so terrible. I can't think of a time when it was in a better spot.
No, and that
top to bottom,
all of that was the presidents, the commissioner. They figured it out too late.
Yep,
they made the commitment too late, and that was it. Like it takes time to see the payoff of that. To see the payoff of that commitment, especially when you're so late in the game. But Jed Fish at Arizona, he just got a big contract extension today. You're seeing that commitment. It was too little, too late. And that's what sucks for the Pac-12. And it sucks for Oregon State and Washington State, too, because they started making a commitment before some of the other schools did. And when they tried to figure it out and they brought Jonathan Smith in and they made all of the upgrades to their facilities that they have over the last, decade, Washington State did the same thing. They made their facility upgrades. They went out and they got Mike Leach.
Yep.
And they made that big hire, and that was ahead of a lot of these other teams pushing in for that commitment, and those are the ones that are getting left behind. That is a damn shame.
That sucks.
It's a damn shame. Jonathan Smith is gone. The future of the program is as foggy as ever. And that is going to be something that it's going to be a long time because Heinsohn, receivers coach, is now the interim head coach. By all accounts, it appears that Trent Bray is the target for the head coach in the early runnings of this. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be really hard to try to find somebody that will go there and stick around there.
Bray will
when you,
for a while.
But when you have a defensive-minded coach, and look, Jonathan Smith's taking his offensive staff with him. He's taking his own line coach. He's taking the most important pieces with him to Michigan State, with the exception of Trent Bray. But when those guys are going, and who you're going to bring in for your offensive coordinator, if you have success with an offensive coordinator at Oregon State or in the Mountain West, those guys become head coaches somewhere else really fast. And we're finding that commitment of that pool of money. It's going to be really hard for them to build a staff as good as the one they had at Oregon State over the last 6 seasons. All right. We'll have more on that one. And what happens with Oregon State as the show goes on. We do need to talk about the Civil War. But before we get to the Civil War, we had an update of the rankings, which all of the games that happened this past weekend, they really did make a clearer picture of what's at stake this weekend in Conference Championship weekend. We'll get into that next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. it's not just, talking mess and cracking fart jokes on the text line, but you get real feelings coming out about your alma mater, the school you root for, the people that you've grown a connection with that you may not even know. Like, isn't that great thing about sports? Like, you can not meet a person and you can love someone.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Grown men crying type
Yeah.
stuff, right?
No, there's absolutely.
And then they leave and you're like, damn, I
You're
just
a
got
monster.
dumped.
I hate you. Yeah.
I just got dumped. And so there's a lot of thoughtful responses, some hateful ones too.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
No,
That's what today's for.
I get it, and it's been like that for the last couple days.
Especially when I think to the point of what you're talking about, like you said, you felt it was like a lateral move from Oregon State to Michigan State, and like historically they are better, but I feel where fans are like, dude, they were 3 of the last 4 years they've sucked,
No.
right?
If
And
you're
that's-
looking at the trending of the organizations of the programs, Oregon State was in a much better spot as a football program for sure.
Mel Tucker was a disaster as a person
Yes.
and coaching too,
Mhm.
without exception of the first year. This is the school that harbored Larry Nasser. We forgetting about that,
Yeah.
right? Like they've had just a long slog of just missteps up there. I can see where you feel like that. And so we'll get to that feedback. I promise you.
Just
will.
as an aside,
Yeah.
looking at 24/7 Sports, looking at the Big Ten recruiting rankings heading into next year, do you know where Michigan State is?
I will near the bottom, at the bottom.
There's one team behind them, and it is Northwestern.
Yeah, who hasn't had a head coach either all year.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, is that you're behind the 8 ball in recruiting, because when you have an interim coach, like everybody's jumping ship, and that you've already seen that at Oregon State.
But this is also why, and I've replied to a few people on the text line, why couldn't he wait until the end of the season?
Portal.
Because he can't. Because the portal literally opens in 3 days.
1 week from today, December 4th. It opens December 4th.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
They moved the date around.
It's
My bad.
it's December 4th, and then at that point, look, all bets are off, and he needed to have boots on the ground there, and you need to start pillaging other teams. In Oregon State, yours is about to be pillaged.
Yeah.
That's
It's ugly.
That's
I,
it.
I don't want to talk about it, but Oregon State, you're going to lose everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. Damian Martinez seems like he loves Oregon State, so maybe you keep him. But he's got 1 year to showcase his abilities.
He's
and
an NFL running back. I don't know if he can stay.
No, offensive line is going to be revamped anyways, and that was going to be an uphill climb no matter what. Jonathan Smith.
Because you're sending
or not.
3 dudes probably to the NFL.
And then you have, what is this offense going to look like? Who are they going to bring in? He's got to look out for his best interest too.
Aiden Childs is going to have 20 of the top 50 schools in the country calling him.
I bet the school down the road is probably going to call him too.
100%. I bet you Washington calls. I bet you
They all should.
They're all going to call.
Yeah, they can call him and say, "Hey, you want to go beat Michigan State a few years in a row?" But in the meantime, Jonathan Smith's probably going to try to take him as well. So there's a lot that we need to get to in that regard. The top 25 in the AP side of things has been refreshed, and we do have a little bit of change, and it does tell us what is on the line coming up in the Pac-12 championship game, because the Pac-12 championship game now, it feels more than ever, win and you're in. And what the Oregon Ducks were able to do on Friday night was an exclamation point of their regular season. Let's talk about what happened in the 127th installment of the Civil War, and then we'll get into the Apple Cup next hour as well. We have our worst day on the web and a whole lot more. We're just getting going, baby. We still need to get to Dame playing against the Blazers for the first time, and a host of NFL stuff as well. This is Danny and Dusty. Hour number 1's in the books. We head to hour 2 next on The Fan. Missed hour number 1 or any of our shows, go check out the Service Patriots podcast. Service Patriots is your home comfort solution for all of your heating and air conditioning needs. Check out the latest offers for our listeners at servicepatriots.com/thefan. You can go there. You can do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of Jonathan Smith. We will have more Jonathan Smith.
You'll have more.
This hour, we're going to have some like right now because we're talking about his former team.
Yes.
Getting absolutely manhandled.
Yes.
By the Oregon Ducks. And I've thought that game was something that it was something we haven't seen from Oregon this year.
Mm-hmm.
They played a different style of football. When you come out of the gate and you have, what was it, a 15-play, 8-minute and 46-second drive?
Yeah, it was nuts. They said, this is the first drive of the game, and they're at 7 minutes on the clock on the broadcast. And I went, God dang, they really have been driving that long.
They were more methodical.
Mm-hmm.
But and at the beginning of the game, it was a change in style. Stylistically, the way that they played was, we know Oregon State doesn't have the depth to keep up with us, so we are going to hammer them early.
We're going to wear them down.
And they absolutely did it. Yeah. And I thought that the big momentum shifter in that game, because of that stylistic shift, right, and just a different tempo of that the game was being played, I thought it was really interesting that when Oregon State scored at the end of the half, obviously leaving Oregon 48 seconds after the kickoff. They kicked off at 54 seconds, and then they had the return. When they had 48 seconds to go, that's where you said, okay, now you have we can still change our tempo within a game.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Will Stein has talked about this a lot. The ability to move. They have, I think it's 5 different tempos that they play at, right? But there's we're going to push, 2-minute. They have just like a Ricky Bobby style where you're running NASCAR and you want to go fast and you're playing fast. And then you have the 4-minute offense. Then you have we want to take it a little bit slower and just, we'll do muddle huddle and go from there. And then they have the slow it down.
The breaks.
And we will. The muddle huddle is kind of what they came out with, though, where you're playing with tempo, but you're not playing fast. Does that make sense?
Yes,
you're getting to the line, but you're not.
You're
playing
taking
fast.
your sweet time at the line. You're not motioning 18 different times with 20 seconds on the clock. Still, you're letting the thing get down a little bit, taking your time and really being methodical in the entire process.
But when Bo Nix in that offense used 40 damn seconds to go all the way down the field,
every play,
and the fact that the most impressive part about Bo Nix, and if you watch that game, go back and watch that game over again, because what Bo Nix did, you get away with this in college, right? And in the NFL, you've got to be this way from the get-go. But what he did at the beginning of the game is he trusted his line. He stood in the pocket. He waited for guys to get open, and then he just was either going first read, second read, check down, and if it was all gone, he had so much patience. As he figured out what Oregon State was doing, the ball was out so quickly. And you could see it evolve as that first quarter turned in the second quarter. And then in that 40-second drive to score at the end of the half, he threw to Troy Franklin, not on the big touchdown. He threw to Troy Franklin like a 12-yard stop on the outside.
Oh, you're talking about the one he just let go 3 seconds early?
He threw the ball when Troy Franklin was 3 yards before he broke down.
Yeah, before he even got to the top of his route.
And he knew exactly where Oregon State was going to be. He knew where his guy was going to be. And then you saw that kind of throw.
That was
maybe not as impressive
throw.
As that one, but that kind of throw is exactly what Bo did from that point on the rest of the game. And he surgically dismantled Oregon State. But the touchdown throw to Troy Franklin, that is a
dot.
There's several incredible parts about that throw. One is that he went through his reads, he got flushed out, he kept his eyes downfield, and then rolling to his right, threw back across the field to a receiver who is going from right to left, and then had the arm strength off of one foot. He didn't set his feet and throw. He threw it on the run. He led Troy Franklin. He gave Troy Franklin a spot to run to even. That throw is insane.
Dusty, the way people were talking about Bo following the USC game and the Arizona State game, I thought he was great in the sense of like production.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel he's just shredding them. It was a lot of yak, right?
And throwing to wide open receivers.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was the game where I was sitting there going, that's it. That's the Heisman. He was so good.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you know how I felt about him. He's a very solid quarterback. He's always going to be in command. Is he going to be the thing that's just undeniable, which means it can't be denied?
Cannot be denied.
That's what he was. He was surgical at every level. That throw you're talking about, the comeback, when he let that thing go, I'm like, oh, he's throwing it away.
Mm-mm.
Because the camera angle that we saw on live made it look like he was throwing it away because it was an off platform kind of 3/4 arm slot, and it looked like, oh, he's just airmailing this thing. Maybe he's gonna give Troy a chance to try to grab it on the sideline. No, it was a freaking dot. It had a little bit of loft under it, but it was a dot exactly where it needed to be. Hell, I bet you if we went back and watched it, it's probably 5 yards before he gets the top of his route, which that's an insane thing to think about.
Yeah, he knew it right when he saw that play, right when he got the snap, he was going.
He knew where he was going with the ball.
It was plays like that to where when you have a quarterback who is locked in at that level, good luck, because he was playing that damn well, and I think that took the wind out of the sails on several levels from Oregon State. One was that you saw a quarterback that was not going to be stopped on that day.
Yeah, no,
he saw that.
Unbelievable.
The other part of that is I think they went into the half because think of where that game is at. It's 14-7 at that point, and Oregon State gets the ball out of the half. Okay? That is a huge momentum swing. And I'd also like to point out that since Dan Lanning had been getting criticized so much for his fourth down mishaps and clock management mishaps in his losses to Oregon State and Washington over the 2 years here, Dan Lanning used 2 timeouts on Oregon State's drive that they scored on before the half and saved his team just enough time and still was able to save them a timeout as well. Oregon made that drive in 40 seconds. They still had 1 timeout. And that Dan Lanning needs credit for using the timeouts the way that he did leading up to that drive because it gave his offense a chance and they capitalized on it. But more so than that, I think that touchdown going from 1 score down, going into half to 2 scores down, I think that's where Oregon State, all of that noise that they'd been hearing all week and even feeling about like, hey, is our coach going to be here? They felt that. The program felt that.
Oh, yeah.
The program felt that heading into that game. They did. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
No, we talked about that on Wednesday. Like, what would losing that game the week before to UW and everything else that kind of came into this, knowing that it wasn't that they didn't have anything to play for, but no longer was there a chance to play the spoiler and a chance to send yourself to the Pac-12 title game. And you also had the noise of Jonathan Smith. I think all of those things and the Pac-12, obviously not even uncertainty, the Pac-12 certainty now, I think all of those things coming together. And I'm not saying that to devalue Oregon's win. Oregon took what was a wounded animal and put it out of its misery. That's what they did.
Yep.
They were damn near flawless in their execution. And, I mean, it was a mercy killing.
And they did it by stifling a rushing attack that, look, I said this all summer, and Oregon State fans got really upset with me when I said, yes, their starting offensive line is really good, but the depth is going to be questioned.
Yeah, and they lost their
right
guard
at the
coming
beginning.
in,
You lose your left guard, you get your left tackle dinged up a little bit over the course of the game. Like that was it.
Yeah.
In Oregon, their depth, and this is where the ability to rest your starters, what has been now 2 full games, because in 8 games this season, Oregon has either not played their starters in the second half at all, or they pulled them midway through the third quarter. You have saved 2 full games worth of snaps from your starters.
Oh, you look at the snaps played in the tackles for Oregon, and it's nothing.
They have like nobody leading tackles. Like,
Yeah, because
their
it's-
leading
it's-
tackler every week has like 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Right. It is unbelievable, that health and leaning on teams. And that's why that tempo, the stylistic change that we've kind of seen, they jumped on them early. They played really well early, but it wasn't like the Avalanche where we're going to keep on scoring. You have to be able to play in different styles. And Oregon played in a different style. And that style suffocated Oregon State's run game.
Mhm.
Oregon's defense was insane. They were absolutely incredible.
And their discipline on both the run and the pass were incredible.
No doubt. And to hold Oregon State only had 53 yards of rushing.
Mhm.
Think about, you had, I think, 8 yards of that was on the final drive of the game where the game is in hand.
Yeah.
And okay, go ahead, run. Right? I think you had a 6-yard sneak by DJ and then one other run where at the end of the game, they had like 40-something yards rushing. Oregon State cannot win a football game like that. And that's a big credit to Oregon's run defense. They're down Jaleel Florence. He was in a sling. I don't know how long Jaleel Florence is going to be out for, but you have a guy in a sling. Doubt he's going to be back this week, right? Who knows, though, because Bucky Irving got carried into the medical tent. And 2 series later, he was back, right? A couple weeks ago. Nobody knows the severity of that injury, but Dante Manning comes in his stead, and all he has is a big interception in the end zone.
That was a hell of a high point pick.
Oregon was the better team.
Certainly.
You could tell last year meant a lot heading into this year, and they proved a point emphatically. And now it looks like, look, they're playing really good football right now, and they head into a Pac-12 championship game where Washington is coming out of the Apple Cup, and guess what they did? What they've been doing. They just won, right? You're a Raiders fan. Just win, baby.
That didn't happen this weekend.
It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to be done. And now the big question is, what's going on with Michael Penix Jr.? Let's get to the Apple Cup and a little bit of Pac-12 championship next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Seahawks football is
You won't be,
I won't be in Vegas.
but
unfortunately.
you can come to Vegas.
You paying?
No.
No.
No. But you can
Odyssey?
come.
Odyssey paying?
I'll be both working and not in Vegas.
Damn, bro.
Wow, you got the shortest straw in all of this. Sorry.
Damn, but you did wake up sexy again. If you're wondering, Jeff Rush shirt of the day, for those not watching on youtube.com/1080am the fan. And if you're not, when you're at work, just throw us on YouTube, right? Watch Jeff Rust, who's wearing a woke up sexy as hell again t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I can confirm. Shirt is true.
That's a gift from the wife. I
Shirt
can't buy
is
this shirt myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, I can't be that
I
guy.
can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good cover on that one. That your wife bought it. But we will have all the coverage leading up to I think it's like a 5:20 kick between the Ducks and Huskies, because Washington knew that they were already in the Pac-12 championship game because, I don't know, they've just been winning. And that's what they continue to do every single damn week. And they got out of the Apple Cup by the hairs on their chinny chin. Again, the Cougs gave them everything they could handle in a 24-21 Apple Cup.
Is this playing down to your opponent or just doing what you need to do to win?
Yes. I mean,
I guess it depends on if you're talking about the Pac-12 or the SEC, right?
here's the thing. Exactly.
Ding, 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 ding.
There has never been a team to go 9-0 in Pac-12 play. Ever.
Undefeated.
Until this year. The final year of the Pac-12. Washington deserves a hell of a lot of credit for that. Because there have been better teams than this Washington team. In years where the conference has been worse than what the conference is right now. But Washington deserves all of the credit for what they're able to do. I don't care if it is pretty.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be.
That's the horn that I've been yelling through all season long. They keep winning.
And that's all it needs to be, is just get a W and continue to march on. I'm so sick of they need style points. No, they don't. No, they don't. They just need to stay undefeated, and they'll be playing for a college football title.
We'll see what it looks like on Friday.
The biggest red flag in all of this, though, is you sit there and you look around and you go, is Michael Penix Jr. okay?
The answer to that is no.
Is Michael Penix Jr. okay?
He has not looked the same since getting absolutely smacked in the ribs against Oregon.
No, he's not. And they said he's completely fine. He was helped off the field on Saturday.
Yeah, they said he was under the weather. I can't remember the last time I was so sick that I had to be helped off a field.
He did not look good.
No.
And he hasn't looked the same since that Oregon game.
Yeah.
He's going to need to be back. But here's the thing, though. Orchestrated another game-winning drive.
Comes up big when you need it.
Yeah, and again, this is why him and Roma Dunze are the best tandem in college football right now, is because when you need them and everybody in the damn stadium knows where the ball's going, they still get it done.
Look, we all saw who the best wide receiver in the country is this weekend.
Yeah.
It's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yep.
My God. But Roma Dunze is a dude. He is an absolute, unfettered, unmitigated dude at every level. Because exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
Everyone knows where this bleeping ball is going.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he still beats whoever it is to the spot and to the catch. And my God, if you aren't on top when the ball comes down, you're not catching him.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you.
He's an absolute freaking monster, man.
Yeah.
You just tip your cap and go, it's a pro quarterback and a pro wide receiver. And even when they're not humming along, there's still not a lot you can do.
Yep. I mean, look, the last team that we saw go 9-0 in conference play was Oregon in 2010 when they played for a national championship. Here we are, the Pac-12 in the final year of the conference's play. And by the way, I know there's a lot of Oregon fans that are very upset. That 2010 year was the Pac-10.
Mm.
I was very careful with my words there.
Yes.
Pac-12.
There's just
Pac-12 was 2011.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so I just wanted to make
wanted
sure
to be clear.
people don't get very mad. People do get very mad. Oregon did it 2010 in the Pac-10. Pac-12. Now we have Washington.
Yeah.
The only team to do it.
There you go.
They're really good, man. And they're scary because here's the thing. Penix has not been the same. That is a fact.
Yes.
That is very true. But what Washington has also done is they've found a run game in Dylan Johnson.
Yep.
And Romadunze got in the run game as well. Their defense has been playing a lot better too. Now, Penix may not be as good as when Oregon saw them up in Seattle, but their defense has gotten better, and their running game, their offense is more balanced.
I'm interested to
and
see
those things do make them just as dangerous, and the game may be close, right?
Because the fear of Penix is still there.
As it should be.
And that's what I'm really interested to see is, do we see the Oregon that we saw in the second half against Washington?
Yep.
Do we see the Penix that we saw in the first half before he got hit?
Yep.
And I think you're going to probably split the difference on both those. I don't think Oregon's going to look as great as they did in the second half. I don't think Penix is going to look as bad as he did in the second half. Until, of course, the last drive when he looked like a god again, which is exactly what he did against Washington State.
But I will say Oregon is playing, and this is the thing, is that this Pac-12 championship game has so much on it. And it can, I like, we talk about Washington because they won that game. Washington State fought their asses off.
Oh God, Cam Ward looked like Cam Ward again.
Yeah. Yeah. They fought, they were much better. I thought that was a fun game, and rivalry games are always closer than they should be, right? With the exception of Civil War on Friday, which that was the fewest points Oregon State scored since '92.
And there's clearly some, number one, Oregon was good, but also there's some other reasoning behind it.
But now you have another rivalry game, and it's for the Pac-12 championship.
As you want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
This should be a good one.
It's gonna be really fun.
Yeah.
Vegas is going in. They sold the game out a long time ago. Yeah. That should be exciting. Flights are insanely expensive to get down there, but it's going to be worth it. And to see,
so Odyssey's not covering my flight.
No,
okay.
no. We could have buy one get one free. You ain't getting that. You ain't getting that flight covered. But everything in the conference ending the way that it is, that's going to be sad. There's going to be a lot of emotions about the Pac-12 not being around anymore after this weekend. But it's going to go out with a bang. And the winner of that game is going to the college football playoff.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, I think that the steam that Oregon has gotten from the national pundits, and there's national pundits that are saying, like, look, Oregon is playing some of the best football in the country right now.
We've heard it from Urban Meyer. We've heard it from Kirk Herbstreit.
Hell, you heard it from Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah, Paul Feinbaum.
Who's looking for reasons to get 4 SEC teams in.
Paul.
Hey, Paul.
Yeah.
But he's even said Oregon's playing really damn good football. And Bo Nix, look, I know that there's a lot of Heisman talk. We'll get to a lot of the Heisman talk.
He's winning it.
I don't know.
You think the Jaden Daniels stuff is going to be there?
Because, again, there's voting blocks behind all of this.
Sure.
There's too many voters for the Heisman Trophy as well. That is something. But the voting blocks are the distribution of voters around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And if all of the South pools together and they say no Jaden Daniels, which it kind of feels like we're trending that way, and then you have the West Coast split between Nix and Penix, that kills a guy's Heisman.
I don't think that's going to happen now. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think Penix has fallen off enough with. He's clearly injured. I don't care what any. This is like when the season Dame had the groin surgery.
Sure.
When everyone's like, oh, and it's coaching, it's integrating into the new
should be.
No, it's Penix. He's clearly banged up.
What Bo is doing is absolutely insane, though.
Yeah, no, this game that he just had against the Beavers, that's the one for me. Look, he was good against. He was great against.
He had back-to-back 400-yard games.
Yeah, it was great against Arizona State, and that was different. And I thought he was very good against USC, but I don't think you saw the yak, and that'll always be held against him. The Oregon State game, that wasn't yak. That was him just carving.
Yeah.
And that, to me, like, that's what you go, okay, that's it. Last year you had Caleb Williams against Notre Dame.
Which
carving.
I love that was the complaint about Bo Nix. Like, How dare he take what a defense gives him?
No, but that's how this is always going to be looked at. Because
I know. Like, what? How dare he takes what a defense gives him and not have some YOLO throws and fumbles where you lose by 21 points to Florida State?
But
Jaden Daniels.
But you need to have that. You need to have that highlight reel. You need to have that Heisman moment. And being methodical is not that.
No. Setting the NCAA record for completion percentage. That ain't it, boss.
Nope, it's not that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right, the future is here, and I don't like it. But first, here's a Sports Center update with the Big Kahuna.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Bears at the Vikings wraps up Week 12 in the NFL on Monday Night Football. Minnesota are 3-point favorites in the 5:15 kick on ABC and ESPN. Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson officially out as he continues to recover from a hamstring injury. After starting his first season in Carolina with a 1-10 record, Panthers head coach Frank Reich has been fired. Special teams coordinator Chris Tabor has been named interim head coach. The team has also reportedly fired quarterbacks coach Josh McCown and running backs coach Deuce Staley. After leaving Sunday's game against the Broncos with his shoulder in a sling, Browns defensive end Myles Garrett is considered day-to-day. The Jaguars have placed left tackle Cam Robinson on injured reserve. He's got a left knee injury. Over in college ball, Oregon's Jackson Powers Johnson has been named Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Week, and Ducks offensive coordinator Will Stein, one of 5 finalists for the Broyles Award, given the nation's top assistant. On the hard court, after blowing a 26-point lead yesterday afternoon in Milwaukee against Damian Lillard and the Bucks, the Trailblazers back at it this afternoon in Indianapolis to face the Pacers. 4 o'clock tip on Root Sports. The Blazers are 11.5-point dogs. Over in baseball, ESPN reporting the Dodgers and outfielder Jason Hayward have agreed to a 1-year, $9 million deal to return to Los Angeles pending a physical, and the Cardinals have signed free agent starter Sonny Gray to a 3-year, $75 million deal. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
Your favorite fan shows are on YouTube. Mash the subscribe button and like us for live streaming video and 1080 The Fan on demand. on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Well, that sucks.
Well, speaking of what sucks, the fall of Sports Illustrated as any kind of reliable source for media across any gamut is, it's here. It's absolutely insane.
I can't believe, when you told me this story, I did not believe it.
Yeah.
And then all of the mess came out.
Yeah, this is an article from Futurism this morning. Sports Illustrated, this is the headline, published articles by fake AI-generated writers.
Which is something that's happening across the country, but at the very top, it'll say, like, remember, we went over this with high school football stories.
They had the Oregonian.
Where it has, like, all of the same leads, and it'll be like, it was a tussle between, it has, like, all the same word. We're like, what the
same
hell?
Vernacular through and through.
And all of these AI high school articles across the country had, like, the same writing in it. They just changed the names of the teams.
Because they were using the same tool. Because it's I can't remember what media group it was, but the Oregonian is doing it for real estate.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. Like
which real estate you can get away with, right?
Yeah,
it's like
you're
those
taking
are
automated what is it, NMLS numbers?
Yeah,
and then you're extrapolating from there. It's not like it's mostly just data.
Well, if you ever like anybody who's bought a house knows that you read through all of these descriptions, you're like, oh god,
yeah,
here we go again. It's all the same stuff.
Yeah,
so a computer can do that.
Yeah.
Sports are different.
Not only just sports, but just outdoor writing. And this is one of the ones they highlighted. So what's the AI writing, as much as I hate it, it's happening more and more. And I don't want to see it around. I think this just sounds so corny coming from somebody in sports media. But there is nuance to not only in sports, but in whatever you're doing, specializing. Your own subjectivity, where everybody talks about objectivity, your own subjectivity matters. Yep. Your individual experience. That's what makes things different, is your experiences and how your thought processes go. And when you remove that and you isolate it to AI, it's problematic. It's even worse when you're doing it as a front and not and being deceitful, because they were not only creating the articles with AI, the authors themselves were fake. For example, there was a author named Drew Ortiz, and this is his bio. Drew has spent much of his life outdoors and is excited to guide you through his never-ending list of the best products to keep you from falling to the perils of nature. Nowadays, there's rarely a weekend that goes by where Drew isn't out camping, hiking, or just back on his parents' farm. The problem is Drew isn't real.
Somebody needs to take a picture of a computer, like a computer tower, like in the woods,
in a field
or next to a tent, and be like, "Here's Drew. Here's Drew. Drew's camping again this weekend." Like this is what they're doing.
This is insane.
And they used an AI generated photo too of not a real person, and those are creepy.
They bought AI photos, and somebody somewhere ran the photos because they're probably trying to track the authors down because there's no contact information. They probably ran their photos through a Google image search and found an AI generated CAPTCHA of that photo.
That's crazy, dude. Like, this is wild. And to think that Sports Illustrated had the balls to do this. I mean,
it shows you how far they've fallen.
Right now, why in the world would you in this time say this is the idea? This is what we need to do. People don't want to have AI writers, but we're going to do it anyway, so we're going to create a fake person. Nobody's going to find out about this. It's 2023. People are always going to find out about it. What if people actually really liked what your AI author was writing and were like, hey, let's track this person down?
Yeah.
Like that's probably what happened, right? No. It backfired tremendously.
His photo.
Oh, this is so bad.
This is the insanity of it. His photo was traced back to a website that sells AI-generated headshots, where the description of his headshot is as such: neutral, white, young, adult male with short brown hair and blue eyes. So they have sourcing on this from people who worked at Sports Illustrated. And I would imagine they're the people who kind of outed this whole situation, because they're looking at this like, what the hell is this? The line here is just, we've crossed it. We've crossed it. Like we can't put AI back in the box. This isn't like Skynet, but this is like everybody's going to kind of push the boundaries of this. We talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago when ESPN took a clip of Chris Haynes interviewing Damian Lillard during the bubble with the Trailblazers and superimposed, essentially live photoshopped, edited a Bucks jersey on it, but took the quote out of context and then replaced the TNT mic flag with an ESPN mic flag.
So it looked like he was doing an interview on ESPN when he was doing an interview with TNT in a different uniform, in a completely different context of what he was saying.
And they did not present it as a meme.
No.
It's one thing. I saw some people like, we see this kind of thing where you edit things and change it all the time. No. When you're making edits, there's a clear intent to show this is an edit.
Yeah. What was the quote that he had too? Is like, we didn't come here to lose or something like that, because it was in the bubble and they had an upset, and he said, I think it was.
I think that was his like 60-point game against the Nets.
Yeah, and he said, we didn't come here to lose. Yeah. And that was like they were trying to pawn it off as what he said as a Bucks player.
Yes. And not only that, they appropriated the content from a competitor.
Yeah.
And that was all using AI software. And so it's like this stuff is getting nasty because I hate doing this because it lends credence to the tinfoil. But this is literal fake news. It's literal fake news.
To quote the great Merrill Reese of the Philadelphia Eagles,
no cap. Sus.
It's just so Futurism reached out to Sports Illustrated, and you know what their response was? They've removed all of the authors and deleted all the articles.
Delete it. That's what you do.
They have not responded to the questions. So.
Yeah. You know, the crazy part is that somebody probably got a raise for creating Drew Ortiz. And what was the gal's name?
Sora Tanaka.
What did she write for? She was an outdoors writer.
Let's see. That sounds like a made-up name in like an RBI baseball.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Little Tecmo football, there you go.
Right.
But Sora's always been a fitness guru and loves to try different foods and drinks. Miss Tanaka is thrilled to bring her fitness and nutritional expertise to the product reviews team and promises to bring you nothing but the best of the best.
Product reviews, huh?
So they're essentially selling reviews from people that don't exist.
100%.
Now, I missed it. Did the AI also write the fake author bios, or were those created by a real person?
I bet you they did.
I'll go out on a limb here and just say, if you're, and this is why I pride myself on not being an outdoorsman nor a nutritionist, right? If you are into fitness or the outdoors, they're saying, we don't even need a real person to write for you.
I'm into fitness sandwich in my mouth.
Hey-oh!
It's insane. So the Futurism also highlights that while those products no longer exist on Sports Illustrated, the Arena Group, who owns Sports Illustrated now, they have a portfolio of websites, and there are other situations where the exact same thing is occurring.
Good.
All
right.
It's just...
Hey, just know we're real people here. We're real people here.
For now.
I mean, Danny is getting closer and closer to becoming a bionic human, but he's real now.
They also have enough of our voice now where if Odyssey took and spent money, they could get real versions. Have you... Isaac and Rob Isaac and Suk have done that.
No, listeners.
It was a listener that did it.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was a listener that did that.
Yeah. Don't give them.
Computers.
They don't even know how to turn one on.
They're
way closer to Joe Walsh than
you're not wrong.
Or Owen Wilson and Zoolander. It's in the computer.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's getting there. So, all right. Speaking of getting there, time to get back to college football. You like that? Whoa, I'm there, baby. We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny Dusty Today, the Fan. team on the field most of the game.
So we have our story time with Uncle Gino when Gino Toretta joins us, and that's because our good friend Greg Glover from 94.7, he knows Gino, and Glover was down in Alabama this past weekend, and I want to get Glover on to talk about this because Gino hooked him up with sideline passes to that game.
Ooh.
Glover is diehard Alabama. Like he grew up in Alabama. Like his granny, I don't know, we have it somewhere, but his granny used to call him all the time and leave him voicemails going, "Roll Tide," right? Like he loves Alabama football. He was at that game, and he was right there experiencing that play on the sidelines. And he'd never been to an Iron Bowl, never been to a game in Auburn before. And he was able to be there for that game. Like, that finish is as crazy as it gets. And what I find so interesting is that, you know, we're sitting there and people are criticizing Washington for scraping by, right?
But Alabama, man, that's a gutsy win.
Alabama converts a 4th down and 31 to win the game. Because they were trailing.
Yes.
They weren't tied and going into overtime, and kind of the Apple Cup was back and forth. And Washington State, you know, who had already beat Wisconsin earlier in the year, had knocked off Oregon State. Meanwhile, this Auburn team, and then Washington State, they went through their drills, and they'd gone through some pretty bad times this year, right? They put up a good fight against Washington, like, nah, Washington not that good. Now it's like if Alabama... Watch out now, Alabama. They get a ton of credit for that game and that win. They beat a 6-6 Auburn team.
Yeah.
Like they beat that 6-6 Auburn team. That game was incredible. That play was amazing. You rush 3 and you allow that Alabama offensive line to have 5-on-3 against that pressure, and Milroe, who deserves a lot more credit for becoming a far more competent quarterback than he was at the beginning of the year.
He couldn't throw. Remember, he was benched because he could not throw the ball.
Meanwhile, in this game, he does have 18 carries for 107 yards, but also went
electric.
He went 16 of 24 for 259 in that touchdown right there to win the game. Like, he is playing better. Guys, players can get better as the season goes on.
Absolutely. He looked broken to start the season.
But that play was incredible. Just waiting and then putting that placement on that ball where only his guy can get it. And then we saw, I loved on the was it the Eagles Bills game, where it was almost a very similar touchdown throw, and they called it. They're like, it looks just like what we saw yesterday in the Alabama Auburn game. That it was just the drama of it. You have rivalry games come down to the wire. That drama is on the edge of your seat.
It's not a field goal being returned for a touchdown, great, but you know it's pretty good.
Look, holiday seasons have been ruined now. Like, we just started the holiday season, and in Alabama, Auburn fans will not be right through Christmas.
No, because this would have made their year.
Yes, because there wasn't a whole lot to be happy about. They're 6-6.
They're bowl eligible. Which did we get the threshold? Did we hit the threshold?
82 teams.
Did we meet the threshold for all the bowls?
No, it's impossible to do at this point.
Well, I think there's a couple 5 and 7 teams.
Yeah, that'll be getting
they had
waivers.
James Madison and Jacksonville State edge their way in there too,
and they deserve to be in.
Yes,
those teams deserve to be in. It's so dumb, but that game is great because also when you have these deep-rooted rivalries, you get the hometown calls, and when you can hear the elation of victory and the sound of defeat, it's one of my favorite things ever.
Fantastic.
And this comes via Learfield. Eli Gold on the call for Bama.
Milroe stands in, lets everybody get downfield, still standing. He throws into the end zone.
He caught it.
It's caught! It's caught by Isaiah Bond! Caught by Isaiah Bond in the corner of the end zone. Touchdown, Alabama!
It's not quite as great as I thought it would be.
Eli is a pro's pro.
Yeah, I just thought that with Auburn and that play, I thought maybe we'd get
the color guy going a little crazy too.
Maybe get a little Harlan over the top.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. All right, let's go check out the defeat of Auburn though.
Trips to the Auburn boundary, the wide side of the field. Double wide receivers right for Alabama. Burton and Williams. Empty backfield for Jalen Milroe on 4th and goal from the 31. Milrow to throw out of the shotgun with time. Still with time. He looks. He throws to the back of the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown. Isaiah Bond with the catch.
My favorite part right there
is the pause.
Is you heard the Auburn color guy mumble under his breath, and he was like, you want to talk about getting like
that's the must be professional, must be professional, must be professional.
You can hear it. You can hear it. Damn, that was a good football game, though.
It was.
Alabama, right now, if you look at it, they are going to be that SEC championship game, man. They have to ask for a lot of things to happen, right? They need to beat Georgia. They need Washington to win. They need probably Florida State to lose.
I mean, they're not going to keep them in, right?
And then Florida State?
Yeah.
Look, if they win, and the shine is going to be taken off that ACC championship game, because Louisville losing to Kentucky is a big one.
Yes.
Because that Louisville team now, they crater down to 15 in the AP poll. We'll see what they do in the college football playoff poll. But when they crater down, right, like that win isn't going to be nearly as impressive. But if you stay perfect, you deserve to be there. You deserve to be there.
It's a sacrificial lamb at that point.
We've seen it before. Michigan State.
Yeah.
Michigan State was that sacrificial lamb. They got, was it 38-0?
Yeah, they got housed.
Just blitzed. But when you win, you got to get in. And because, I mean, you can't leave a 13-0 team out.
No.
You can't leave the 13-0 team out.
I mean, you can. We've seen it.
They also need Texas to lose to Oklahoma State, probably, because Texas has that head-to-head win.
Wait, was UCF 12-0?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not 13-0. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But they are national champions in their hearts. In their hearts.
But they have left one out.
Yeah, yeah. But this is a Power 5 conference. It's a Power 5 conference, right? Well, I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of when Oregon played Florida State, though, and everybody's like, Florida State ain't really that good.
Yeah.
And Oregon was the 2 seed. They were the 3 seed, despite the fact Oregon had a loss in 2014. Yeah. Like, we've seen it before. I could see them being the 4 seed, being undefeated, and a 1-loss team, definitely being higher seeded.
Yes.
For sure.
For sure. All right, 2 o'clock. Let's get to it. Let's reset. Take a look at, it's kind of a triage.
Yeah, we'll get to Beaver fans' thoughts because we have a lot of really good ones.
There's a lot to go through, and it probably won't just be today. We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, 10 the Fan. locally and within the communities because of the state that the Pac-12 conference is in or not in anymore. That we have seen. We haven't even talked about this yet. We have seen the last of Pac-12 football.
Yeah, and I thought
it's over.
Pac-12 network, it was really interesting to kind of see the, I don't know, lack of a better term, the obituaries that they put out about the conference and being like, well, I mean, you guys kind of are the reason why the conference is dissolving, right? Like the overhead of the network, the mismanagement of funds, the idea of the Pac-12 network being owned and operated by the conference it was a big reason why the conference failed. It was a gamble that they took, and it didn't work. But
on any level,
the fact of the matter is that it is sad that this conference is going away.
Yeah,
it truly is, and we saw the end of it happen. I thought what was really interesting is that there were some Notre Dame fans. I know there's like a Notre Dame reporter that was out there saying the weird thing about one of the final games on the Pac-12 network was Stanford Notre Dame, and he said Pac-12 network was treating Notre Dame better than NBC had all year. They actually put on a really good broadcast, and the Pac-12 network deserves a lot of credit for that. But it is sad to see the conference go away, and this was the final season of the Pac-12.
Yeah, and we're gonna get one more game on Friday between Oregon and Washington.
Yep,
which will conclude the era of the Pac-12. But before that happened, Jonathan Smith has left Oregon State University for Michigan State, leaving the Beavers for Sparty, and has left Oregon State in a position of, like, I don't want it to be like, this is not a dancing on Oregon State's grave. That's not what either of us want this to be. But this is, again, going to be an obituary of sorts, because I don't think there's a snowball's chance in hell that program isn't essentially getting relegated to the Mountain West, and with respect to the programs there, the also-rans of college football.
The purpose pitch that Jonathan Smith put out there the other day was, hey, my agent's job is to get attractive offers. And it was, can you guys get enough money? Can you get enough money to make this thing viable? And they didn't. They obviously didn't.
Yes.
And I think his mind was already made up on that because of, the writing all being on the wall.
But if you could show a financial plan that says that, yes, we will make sure that you are there, that your assistants are there, that there will be money available for the transfer portal to not only keep players, but to go get players, to make a functional program last for at least 2 more years.
So this is the question now, is like, where are the Beavers at and where do they go from here? My entire thinking of Jonathan Smith was because of what the program meant to him and how much it meant to him, that he would stick through these next 2 years, or at least one more year, to make sure he didn't leave the team hanging. And he said earlier today in his interview with the Big Ten Network that he didn't want to abandon Oregon State. He did. Full stop. Anytime a coach leaves anywhere, the coach abandons that program. And that's exactly what he did. And he said he wanted to play at the highest level and play at the highest levels. That's the Big Ten. That's exactly why teams left the Pac-12, right? Because they saw the writing on the wall for a conference, and now Jonathan Smith saw the writing on the wall for a program. And that's what sucks, because where does Oregon State go from here? Your budget is different. Your pool of candidates for who you get as a head coach are far different. And with the transfer portal opening a week from today, this roster is going to be way different. And it's going to be a job that is very hard to win at. We can call it what it is. Your facilities are better than what anybody in the Mountain West will have. Including UNLV, which has
great facilities,
exceptional facilities. Yes. Like, they have got.
I spent a ton of time down there. It's a wonderful, wonderful setup.
And their new stadium, when they play at Allegiant Stadium, they have a brand new practice facility, and they have a brand new football facility. It's really nice. But Oregon State's are all better. They are. They will have the best facilities of their competition for the short term. And look, this doesn't mean that Oregon State is done trying to scratch and claw their way into the Big 12 or the ACC, or hell, if Michigan gets so pissed off they leave the Big 10.
Big 10, yeah. I don't think it's going to happen now because they just went out there and raffle stomped the Buckeyes. So
yes, they did. But what this means, though, is that climb is exponentially tougher for them, because you have a coach who's saying the writing is on the wall with him leaving and in his comments in the wake of him leaving. So where do you go right now? You have Kinsey Heinsohn, who's the receivers coach. He's going to be the interim head coach. And it kind of seems as if OSU is zeroing in on Trent Bray, who is a guy who is a beef, who is your defensive coordinator, who's done a hell of a job, is X's and O's, one of the best, and gets his guys in a position. This is where it gets really hard, though. If you do go in, because you're not going to pull from the outside because of the uncertainty of the program, who's going to want to step into that right now? If the guy who is an alum who came back and rebuilt the program is saying, who's going to come in and step into that? Because it is more uncertainty than even a Mountain West or a Conference USA or an American athletic conference team, because you don't have a home.
No, and you
don't have a home.
The scheduling, the lack of conference home. Like, I don't want to paint this as poorly as it's going to sound, but it's just the reality. If one of your own who didn't want to leave is saying, I had to go, you're in a very, 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 very bad spot.
And I think what rubs people the wrong way the most is not that Jonathan Smith left. It's how and when he left, right? And there's no good timing for it.
There never is for a coach to leave. It's not.
Starting those conversations a month ago, and then being in the Pac-12 title race when everything comes to a head.
Yeah.
In the final 2 weeks, having if they would have beat Washington last week,
and had that opportunity.
Winner goes out of the Civil War, right? And you're sitting there going, woo, Nelly, look at this. Or they would have had to ask for a lot of help from Arizona State because Arizona absolutely demolished them.
Yes.
But there was still that opportunity and so much to play for. And I think that hurts. And it definitely hurts the players when you see the players' reaction on social media, right? They're not happy with it. And they were in the dark as much as everybody else. But like this texter says, I would have understood it if he tried to hold it together for a year and left. But leaving now and knowing what he was doing to OSU as an alum is awful and wrong. I mean, it's awful for the Oregon State program.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's wrong.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong because it's about him.
Genuinely put yourself in this position. I'm not talking about like facetiously, oh, I would have. No, you wouldn't have. No, you would not have. None of you would have stayed. Because none of you would have been looking at it thinking, you know what? I want to put my career in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Because I know that, because none of you have done that.
Yeah.
You're not going to go out of your way to put your family, your career, everything. There was like, well, he could have had other opportunities down the road. Oh, you mean like all of the other, like, perfect example. Jonathan Smith's hiring the candidate list. That candidate list was Jonathan Smith. The rest were agent favors.
Pat Narduzzi, who is the former defense coordinator, was the head coach at Pitt, assistant coaches,
You would have been the agent favor guy that, 3 years down the road, when a coach hiring doesn't work out, they should have gone with Jonathan Smith. That's what he was going to relegate himself to by sticking around at Oregon State.
Yeah, it was like Pat Narduzzi, Jason Candle, who's the coach at Toledo, who's done a really good job
there.
And you're right on that. You're right on that. I was surprised that it was Michigan State that pulled him away. I understand he wanted to go to the Big Ten. I understand they're throwing a butt ton of money at him.
Yeah.
And they are.
Yeah, getting a million more a year is real money.
But I was sitting there going, okay, it's not a lateral move in my mind because it is a step up.
Sure.
Almost in every sense, right? The commitment to athletics for Michigan State.
That part is real because the donors, I mean, they literally have a basketball court named after Matt Ishbia.
Yeah. They have a history and tradition that is greater in football than Oregon State's is, both historically and recently. And I understand that, but I did not anticipate him taking a second-tier job because he has proven himself to be a top-tier coach. He truly has, because he took over an Oregon State team that was empty talent-wise. It was in the worst spot it's been in a long time. Gary Anderson ran that program directly into the ground. He built it up with high school recruits that he developed and savvy moves through the transfer portal. He did a phenomenal job at that. I understand why he wouldn't go to, say, a Texas A&M, because we saw that show play out when they apparently were in negotiations with Mark Stoops at Kentucky, and then
they made the announcement that it was going to be, Stoops.
And then their fan base and their boosters revolted, and this is why I do not believe that Texas A&M is this elite coaching job. Everything that they've been saying, all you need is the right coach. How many coaches are you going to go through before we stop saying maybe it's the program's fault? Maybe it's you have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Maybe you have problematic.
Maybe you're 17 boosters that are billionaires, all are big swinging you-know-whats, and they feel like they need to control that conversation, and they do. And everybody just buckles to them, right? Maybe that is a big issue there.
Weird.
Maybe you're not even the biggest brand in your own state even, right? And they don't understand that or know that. At least at Michigan State, they know they're not Michigan. They know they're not Ohio State. Hell, they know they're not Penn State, okay? Despite what some delusional fans that'll get into arguments with dirt on Twitter will tell you, a majority of them feel that they understand where their pecking order is. I thought that he would go to a program that was in better footing. I truly felt like that would be, like if he would have taken the Indiana job, now that's like you're going, what the hell is that? Right? This one is understandable on a few different levels, but it's still like
you would think a step above Michigan State.
Yeah, which is it's a really good program.
But also, you and I both respect Jonathan Smith and think he's one of the better coaches in the country.
I think he's better than that. I think he's better in that job. Yeah. I do. Michigan State is a good job. And hey, they should be thrilled that they're getting Jonathan Smith. I have my questions as to whether Jonathan Smith can truly recruit the high caliber recruits, right?
I mean, particularly in the Midwest.
Going after 5-star kids is not his strength.
No.
He is a diamond in the rough guy.
And he's really good at that.
But that's what Mark D'Antonio was, and he did a really good job with that program. But if their expectations are to compete with Michigan and Ohio State and Penn State every year, or Oregon and Washington and USC now every year.
Yeah. I don't think that's a realistic thing
but I
with
feel
the best
like,
coach.
I feel like they are feeling that now.
Yeah, we'll see.
Because they have to up the ante because they're getting steamrolled by those 3 schools. They're getting absolutely demolished by Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan.
And now you're bringing in...
I think it was 129-3 was the combined score against those 3 teams this year.
And now you're bringing in Oregon, Washington, USC.
And it's going to be an even further climb uphill. It is nice for them because they have now a guy who understands how to recruit the West Coast.
Sure.
And they will recruit the West Coast a little bit better. But all of Jonathan Smith's history is out West.
But you're also probably going to bring in a functional quarterback for the first time in that program's history.
Kirk Cousins, Drew Stanton, Kirk Cousins. Come on, man.
Just saying.
God, that's rude.
Quick side note, watching Big Ten football the last couple weeks, they don't, the quarterback play in that conference is atrocious.
Remember, Nick Foles was there.
The quarterback play in that conference is atrocious. It's going to be really interesting to watch the Pac-12 teams that are going there and how
they're all looking for new quarterbacks too.
That's the thing. They're all coming in with new quarterbacks, and I wonder how much better they will look or not in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing: is that stylistically, Jonathan Smith in the Big Ten, that makes all the sense in the world, man. It makes all the sense in the world. But if Jonathan Smith wants an opportunity to play for a national title,
it's not there.
It's not. It's going to be very hard there, but it's a better shot than he has at Oregon State, and that's the purpose that behind the move, and that's what he's telling all of us.
And there's real money there.
There is,
and I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about real money to work with.
Yeah,
and that's a major difference.
It is. Yeah.
All right, coming up next, got some news and notes, just some stupid stuff that came up around both the NFL and college football I want to get to. And then at 2:30, we'll dive into the Portland Trail Blazers taking on the Milwaukee Bucks and the first time against Damian Lillard, coming up on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. asking, well, there's a right or saying that there's a right way and a wrong way to go about this, and Willie Fritz at Tulane is doing it the right way. Well, it's a pretty staggering difference between Willie Fritz, who's 63 years old, and at the back end of his coaching career,
and Jonathan Smith, who's in his mid-40s and like
heading into the prime.
Yeah, this is where you start taking those steps up. And really, Willie Fritz is the guy who was passed over for a lot of other jobs, and he's done a great job at Tulane. And I love Willie Fritz; he's phenomenal. But yeah, you can't. There is no right way to do it. There really isn't, because of the way that the calendar is set. Because Jonathan Smith had to cross his T's and dot his I's when he did, because of what next week means.
Yes.
Next week is when the portal opens up, and he can't wait to start finalizing these things this week, because this week you get in, you evaluate your roster, you start meeting the guys, you have those hard conversations with some of them. You start knowing which guys you want to move forward with and not, and you take that inventory of what your program is. Like, if you want to be upset at the timing of it, be upset at the NCAA calendar.
Yes.
Because the portal opening on December 4th is the reason why you do this now. That's a week from today is when the portal opens. That's not Jonathan Smith's fault.
No.
Okay? Now, if you're a Beaver fan saying, I don't like that you flirted with another job, go ahead. That's you have all the right in the world to be upset about that, because there's a hell of a lot to play for. And the eye was not on the prize there. It was keeping your eye open for what else is out there.
Yes.
And again, this kind of goes back to, at Oregon State, you have to be prepared for every scenario. And in conference realignment, we saw that a lot of the conference was not. But Oregon State and Washington State were on the outside looking in at the end of conference realignment. And that is a truth.
And they pled ignorance, which, again, as I've maintained throughout this entire process, you are not suited for that position of leadership.
Just as
pleading ignorance.
Just as Jonathan Smith was making sure he was looking forward to the future, when Michigan State comes and contacts you and tells you that, and you know that Jonathan Smith is talking with Michigan State, at that point,
you start making phone calls.
You need to have your candidates ready.
Yes.
And on the ready. And look, I don't know what is going on internally there, but there should be no surprise at what's happening, because you've known for a month. And as to, this text that asked, will Jonathan Smith take his players with him? There will be some that he does try to. Absolutely. There's guys that are going to be attached to Jonathan Smith who want to go there and play, but I don't think it's going to be like a full sale change.
This isn't Lincoln Riley taking.
Because there's a lot of guys that are pissed off at him.
Yes.
They're really mad that he's doing
There's
this.
two perfect examples, though, of a coach leaving another program. Lincoln Riley took the cream of the crop from Oklahoma with him.
Yep. He said, nope, they're coming with me. They're coming with me.
So when you talk about right way and wrong way, there's different ways to go about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it is it's tough to be in this situation. And look, as this texter or somebody in the YouTube chat said, Michigan State was in a playoff in 2015. Yeah, in that year, remember, they beat Ohio State on a game-winning field goal. That was the one where they blocked the punt against Michigan. You remember that? They blocked the punt against Michigan. The dude broke his hip. Going after that blocked punt. That was a wild year. And it was, everything about it was just kind of a quirky season. But Michigan State, they've played in the playoff, man. They've gotten there. Now, did they get their butts kicked?
Yes,
yeah, they
got
did.
Throttled.
Yeah, I think it was 30. I believe it was 38-0.
I think you're right.
Wasn't that the 2015? I think it was it Alabama that they played? I'm gonna look that up really quick. Yeah, it was Alabama. They lost 38-0. Their only loss that year was against Nebraska. They lost 38-39 at Nebraska. Other than that, they beat Ohio State. They beat Penn State. They
who was
beat
the coach
Michigan.
of Nebraska that year?
I believe that was one Mike Riley.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, they've been there. They've been there. And I get it. Like, there is so many people that are just upset.
Yeah.
And I understand it. But take a step back. Think about
of all the people that deserve blame in this entire process, Jonathan Smith is very far down the list.
I'd be pissed.
I don't know. I get it.
I'd be pissed.
I get being angry, but like
it hurts.
Yes, that part of it. But as far as like the process and where you are, it's not. He's not the guy.
I think this is gonna be the only time that you sit there and you're rooting for Oregon on October 3rd. Is it? I think it's October 3rd. The very first Big Ten game for the Oregon Ducks is against Michigan State and Jonathan Smith. And on that one, I think that might be the only time that Beaver fans are rooting for Oregon to beat somebody. And you should.
It's an interesting spot.
That's okay. Sure. That's okay. Look, the emotions of all these things are what makes sports great. I can't believe Jonathan Smith left for Michigan State. I did not think that was going to be
I'm surprised by that for sure. But we'll see where it goes from here now.
Yeah. And now, like, everybody's saying, how do we hold on to Damian Martinez? How do we hold on to Aiden Childs? That's going to be really hard.
Hope and pray.
Well, especially because if you're Aiden Childs, you're looking around. You can look up and down this West Coast here, and you can find 3 schools that are going to be on the market for a quarterback next year that are going to be playing in the Big Ten, and you have familiarity with their programs. You have familiarity. Oregon's looking for a quarterback in the portal. Washington will look for a quarterback in the portal. USC is going to look for a quarterback in the portal. USC is going to look for a quarterback in the portal.
I don't think they are.
They're going to go, and they're going to try to find their guy. They got Malachi Nelson, who's been third string for them this year. And, you know, when Lincoln Riley had Caleb Williams, Caleb Williams won third string.
Sure, you're second.
Yep. To Spencer Rattler. And then when he said, I got this guy, he didn't sit there and have him behind anybody else. And that is like, Lincoln Riley plays favorites like no other.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But we'll see about that one. What we did see this weekend is Damian Lillard taking on his former team for the very first time. The Milwaukee Bucks have the Portland Trailblazers visiting yesterday afternoon. How weird was that? We'll get to that and more coming up. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
You ever had a Big Kahuna burger?
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, Bears at the Vikings wraps up Week 12 in the NFL on Monday Night Football. Minnesota 3-point favorites in the 5:15 kick on ABC and ESPN. Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson officially out as he continues to recover from a hamstring injury. After starting his first season in Carolina with a 1-10 record, Panthers head coach Frank Reich has been fired. Special teams coordinator Chris Tabor has been named interim head coach and reportedly immediately fired quarterbacks coach Josh McCown and running backs coach Deuce Staley. After leaving Sunday's game against the Broncos with his shoulder in a sling, Browns defensive end Myles Garrett is considered day-to-day, and the Jaguars have placed left tackle Cam Robinson on injured reserve with a left knee injury. Over in college ball, Oregon's Jackson Powers Johnson has been named Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Week, and Ducks offensive coordinator Will Stein, one of 5 finalists for the Broyles Award given to the nation's top assistant. After blowing a 26-point lead yesterday afternoon in Milwaukee against Damian Lillard and the Bucks, the Trailblazers back at it this afternoon in Indianapolis to face the Pacers. 4 o'clock tip on Root Sports. The Blazers are 11.5-point dogs. ESPN reporting the Dodgers and outfielder Jason Hayward have agreed to a 1-year, $9 million deal to return to L.A. pending a physical, and the Cardinals have signed free agent starter Sonny Gray to a 3-year, $75 million contract. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Russ at the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro and college action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Dame go over and hug Ant before the game in a Bucks jersey. Like I've watched every Bucks game.
Yeah.
I've watched every single Bucks game because I love watching that team. And
you're a cat pervert.
I am a cat pervert.
You love NBA pre-Christmas.
I do. But I really want to see like how they're going to figure out the whole Dame Giannis thing. And they're still figuring stuff out over there. And they're still very, very good. Oh, they're going to fire Griffin before Christmas.
I was just going to say,
they're going to fire him before
Christmas. It feels like their coach, the way he just handles himself on the bench, and he just they did a couple of like shots to him just sitting on the bench, and he just looks like a guy that doesn't have a lot of say in what's happening there.
No, it's dead man walking. It's David Blatt 2.0.
And they're doing this like without Chris Middleton too, and still going through some stuff.
Yeah, they're doing it without Crowder too. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like
they're going to be okay.
The whole idea of like not putting Dame and Giannis in pick and rolls was ridiculous. Running Brook Lopez above the free throw line defensively, just like stuff you're just like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. Instead of matching your scheme to the personnel, he's trying to make his personnel match his scheme. It's maybe go ahead and take the 2 first ballot Hall of Famers, and hell, Brook Lopez might make the Hall of Fame too, and maybe just do what they do. The team pretty much coaches itself.
You know what? Be better.
Yeah.
Just be good, guys.
Well, I'll tell you this. Their offense, I think, is now number 6 in the league because they did ramp up the Dame Giannis pick and roll volume significantly. Going into that game, the Dame Giannis pairing was 35th in the league, so it had gone from like 50th to 35th, while Dame and Lopez, I believe, was 15th. So they're getting there. But, yeah. You saw that they opened up the game with a Dame Giannis pick and roll.
Yeah.
And they got 3 really good looks, and they took the best look, which was a wide open Brook Lopez 3 that didn't go in, but you could see immediately, like, oh no.
I think everybody's just happy that Dame didn't go for 50 against him, right? And it was like the other encouraging part was
he's going to save that for when he comes back here.
Yeah, no, it was just it was a soft 31.
Yep. It was a soft 31, but you had Scoot come out with a hard 11, though. He came out 4 for 4 from the field.
4 for 4, 3 for 3 from 3, including his first off-the-dribble 3 as a pro that has gone in was against Damian Lillard, hand down, man down in the corner, which had to feel good for him.
And as everybody who's seen Dame play defense, like it wasn't surprising for any of us here.
Dame baited him. He full on said, "Have this shot. I dare you."
He got it,
and he confidently took it in the goggles.
Yeah, the 1 for 6 afterwards was like okay, and this is the rookie again. But it was good to see him kind of come out, and he looks a lot more comfortable. He actually looks more comfortable not starting.
Oh no! Look, they're using the minutes restriction coming off the injury and the goggles. By the way, we haven't talked about the goggles.
The goggles.
Scoot has contacts now.
I'm in for guys wearing goggles.
He did not need massive correction with his eyesight. It was a minor correction. They suggested contacts, and he was like, sure, I'll do it. He had never worn them before. They felt awkward, and so to keep him from messing with his eyes and to protect his eyes, he's going with the goggles. He might keep the goggles around permanently. I asked him about it, and he goes, I'm thinking about I might do it. So this
that makes me like him even more.
Oh no!
Now I want him to be that much better.
It is a look.
It's
man.
a vibe.
He is like. I showed him the picture of Buck Williams, and I go, you're not the first goggles guy in Portland. Like, and I go, this is like legendary stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, those are a little too big for me. But then
Buck and Harvey.
Well, he also countered with, but I make everything look good. So he's got some fashion swag.
He just needs to talk to Jeremy Grant.
Yes.
About how Grant's pull off goggles.
Pull off goggles, yes.
Yeah. And I think Harvey and Horace both goggles.
Jeremy wore the mask.
Yeah.
So he's done that.
Just give me goggles, guy. Yeah. I'm in on goggles, guy. This Blazers team, they knew the assignment, though. Go out, get a big lead, prove to all of us that you can do it against good teams, and then lose 108 to 102.
Sure, the Blazers got up 26, and people are very mad that they didn't execute down the stretch. Well, here's the thing, guys. For everybody mad at Chauncey Billups didn't shoot 28% in the second half.
But who are you going to blame then, Danny? Who are we going to blame?
The players. That's who I'm always going to blame. And this is everyone's like, oh, you just like Chauncey. No, this is literally the exact same thing I said with Terry Stotts and every other coach that's ever existed in the NBA.
Get open shot, make open shot.
That's the thing is I went through and watched all their shots in the fourth quarter up until the final minute. They took 15 shots. Of those 15 shots, I would rate 11 of them as good shots. Shots that they would like in the flow of the offense.
Yep.
4 of them I would say of those 4 remaining, 2 were bad shots. Like, why are you taking that there? And 2 of them were end of shot clock grenades where you just had to get something up. But that becomes as a product of you don't have enough shot creators.
No.
You have one guy who can effectively dribble, pass, shoot. That's Malcolm Brogdon. Scoot Henderson can do a little bit of creation.
Yeah.
But beyond that, Ant comes back, things look a little bit different.
Your 3 best scorers went 7 of 18, 7 of 23, 7 of 19.
Mm-hmm. And that was after shooting incredibly well in the first half. In the second half,
that's what good teams do.
Brogdon's 3 of 13, Grant's 3 of 10, Sharp's 3 of 7, Scoot's 1 of 6.
There it is. And that's the Portland Trailblazers 2023-2024.
And they will take on the Indiana Pacers tonight, and each team will score 150 points. And it'll be a lot of fun.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Tune into that one. It'll be fun. I promise you. After this, we will come back and wrap up today's show. There's plenty of weirdness to go on, and we'll get to some of that and then hand you it off to Isaac and Soup. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. just run the ball every play and just call it good?
They have only scored 131 points this season.
Goodness. How many points have they given up?
109. Their defense is really good. Their defense is really good. But
they better be.
If you want like a nice little, okay, Oregon State, you got this going for you. Michigan State, their offense is actually worse. They're actually worse. Michigan State only scored 108 points this year, and they were 4-8. Iowa went 10-2. They just played field position, defense, punt, and I love everything about Kirk Ferentz and the nepotism of having his kid as the offensive coordinator, because good luck to the offensive coordinator that goes in there and they're like, you know what, this will be different. We're going to get a guy who wants to score. No, it's not really even your offensive coordinator's fault wholly. He's a big reason to blame. But old dad, head coach, this is how he wants the games to be played. Mm-hmm. He wants it to be played like this because
ugly it up.
He can win those games. His only losses this year are to Penn State, where they didn't score a lick and the defense gave up 31, and 12-10 loss to Minnesota. And those are the losses that you're like, dude, how could